I would have loved to have been making this video with a completed result. And at first glance, that looks exactly like what I'm doing. However, that is unfortunately not the case. But such is life. Anyways, in this video, I will be discussing the process that it took to build what I now christen as the antiphone. So when woodshop started and we kind of got into the depths of the things that we could do in the woodshop, I realized to myself, oh my gosh, I might actually have the opportunity to do what I've always wanted to do, which is build an electric guitar. And talking to my teacher, Mr. Taylor, shout out to Mr. Taylor for making me make this video, he revealed to me that that would actually be very possible to happen. So thus began the long process of researching how to build a guitar. Ideally, what I wanted to build was a Telecaster model, such as the one viewed behind me, until we realized that the stencil that we had borrowed from another school was in fact the wrong stencil, the kind of stencil for a Stratocaster. So that is what we ended up using instead, which was fine. It was my first electric guitar I was going to build anyways. It didn't really matter that much. So after we got the stencil, I began ordering all the parts, the volume knobs, the pickups, which I actually picked up off of Facebook Marketplace, the tuning pegs. I took apart the bridge from one of my old guitars to put into this guitar, and the pickguard, and so many other things. One thing that I wanted to get was a kill switch, because that is one of my favorite gimmicks that you could ever put on a guitar, and I've always wanted to have one. The closest thing I've ever gotten to a kill switch was the pickup selecting thing on my Les Paul, because, well, the way that the tone pots are wired, anyway, it's a whole thing. So I purchased one, and that ended up causing so many problems, which we will get into later in this video. I drew out a pretty straightforward, to my knowledge, plan of the process of making this guitar. In fact, I thought it was going to take about 5 days to do this. Oh my gosh. How wrong was I? So, for starters, after we got the stencil, we realized that using the stencil to build the guitar would actually possibly do more harm than good, such as cutting into the stencil and ruining it for future use. And since this wasn't our own stencil, we decided to remake it, which took about 3 days, if I remember correctly. Taken time that I was able to use machines at the shop, I was able to get assistance from my teacher. It probably could have been a faster process, but unfortunately, I was doing it in a school, and, you know, things like this happen, which you will see throughout this process. Anyways, we made the stencils. We needed 3. One for the top of the body, one for the middle area of the body, so you could just get kind of the depth of the pickups, and one for just the outline of the body in general. There was no stencil for the back of the body. Now, on a typical Stratocaster, you have this back cavity for the bridge to sit in. I did not have a stencil to cut that out, so I decided to cheat a little bit, and instead take off the bridge from my Les Paul Special 2 and install an Epiphone bridge in a Fender body. I'm such an innovator. So after the stencils were made, we began the process of selecting the wood and came into a little issue. None of the wood that we had in the wood shop was wide or thick enough for the guitar. So we grabbed 2 different types of wood, 2 slices of alder and 1 slice of maple. And for the next few days, we began the process of planing and laminating the wood to get it to the right thickness and length that we needed. And that worked out pretty well for the most part. If you look closely on the guitar, on the back, you can see the different types of wood that we used. Pretty cool, right? Anyways, after that was finished, I began to draw along the outline of the guitar. And from there on, we were set to drill out the guitar. Kind of. It took us forever to find the drill bit that we needed to get the body of the guitar routed out, and that process itself took about a day because we experienced many issues with the routing machine. And of course, we were in the time when I was in the morning class, so we only had about 2.5 hours to get this all done. So when we finally routed out the body, I moved on to do the pickup cavities, and there ran into the first large issue. The issue being that the router bit that we needed was too small. Pickup cavities for a Fender Stratocaster need to be about 2 inches deep, if I remember correctly. And the kind of router bit that we had only went about a few quarters of an inch. So I had to hunt around many shops around Chilliwack and finally found Windsor Plywood, which provided me with the perfect drill bit that we needed. So after we got that, I routed out these pickups, which took a really long time and actually probably took about a month because by the time that I had finished the class, I had moved on to another elective and I needed a lot of supervision, and since woodshop wasn't happening, I just had to take a break, which was fine. For deep dives, which was my 2-week long extended self-directed project, I decided to devote to making my guitar. So I finished routing out the cavities, which was very scary because I was using a hand router and you had to be so precise with all of your movements. If something went wrong, it comes out and it shoots at you. I already had issues with the drill bit earlier in the school year, as you might be able to see on my thumb. Little scar there, I don't know if you can notice.
Forensic drill bits now scare me.
Anyways, after I had done all this, I decided to move on to the electronics, knowing that it would be good to make sure that these things work before I put the whole guitar together. I think at this point I had only put on the neck of the guitar, and further into this project, I was told that I would actually have to drill into the back to keep the neck on, because I originally done a glue fit, but potentially the tension from the strings would pull the neck out of the cavity. So I drilled into the back of the guitar to keep it in place. I started to work on the electronics until I realized one crucial detail I missed. I have never soldered anything in my life. So, after many failed attempts at trying to get the pickups routed to the pickup selector, I decided to seek help. And I went down to this very nice man in my town who runs this business called Fredder Guitars. He's been building guitars since the 80s. It's actually quite impressive. He showed me some of his models. And in about half an hour, he had done what had taken me about 3 days to attempt. And then we ran into another issue. The original kill switch that I had selected for my guitar, as it turns out, was a open circuit. So the function of a kill switch for a guitar, generally speaking, is that as soon as you press the button, the noise emitted from the pickups is cut. And then when you release, the noise comes back. The kill switch that I had purchased did the exact opposite. So I was told that if I wanted to make this work, I would have to get a new kill switch, which sucks because some of them are really expensive. After some hunting online, I managed to order the one that I needed. Unfortunately, I'd run out of time to finish my project, so I had to let it sit for a bit. Enter a few months later when I had a free block in my class and decided that it was time to continue my guitar. I continued and decided that electronics were the least of my worries at this point, because by now I had tested the pickups and knew that they were going to work. It was just a kill switch issue. So after I got the kill switch, I decided to wait on the electronics and just focus on the rest of the body. After I drilled the neck in, I got to painting the guitar body. So the way I did this was this really handy product called Unicorn Spit. And instead of painting the guitar, I put a coat of stain on it. And this kind of stain was gonna get the guitar to be a pretty nice shade of green. I was originally gonna keep the wood natural until I realized, oh, that actually looks really lame. So I got a green shade to kind of contrast with the purple pickguard that I have. And that process took quite some time too, because each coat that I put onto one side of the guitar took about 2 hours to dry. And by the time those 2 hours were out, well, it was almost lunchtime and there was no wood shop in the afternoon. For the next few days, I was staining both sides of my guitar, and afterwards I put a clear finish on the body to give it a relatively glossy look. Now the issue was Unicorn Spit cannot use a water-based clear coat, so I had to go and purchase one. Rip to my bank account.
Oh my goodness.
This project has probably cost me an upwards of $500 to $600, so you will understand my disappointment when this video ends. After that was done and it had dried, I decided to take another crack at the electronics and ran into yet another age-old issue. This new kill switch that I purchased was doing the exact same thing. The $40 kill switch, which was intended for guitar use, was doing the exact same thing as the old one was doing. If I wasn't holding it down, there was no noise, but as soon as I pressed it, there was noise, which is the exact opposite of what I wanted it to do. A bunch of my friends told me, oh, this is probably a wiring issue, so just try to wire it differently. So I did. And somehow, I don't even remember how, I managed to route the wires to one of the little knobs on the little knobs on the tone pot, and I actually emitted noise in my guitar without holding my kill switch down. I was overjoyed. When that happened, I knew that I had to do the real test. So I strung my guitar, which was honestly one of the scariest parts of this whole project. I had done the most precise measuring I could have done when I was building this guitar, and I knew that if the strings did not align properly with the neck, I was gonna crash out and maybe burn down the wood shop. I'm kidding, I wouldn't do that, probably. To my relief, they all lined up perfectly, and actually even got some pretty decent action onto the neck itself. Bridge itself is a friction fit into my guitar, and it was so tight in, there's not really a lot I can do in terms of adjusting it. So I was very happy about that. I tuned it up and decided to keep it in drop E flat because it's one of my favorite tunings to play in, and it honestly, I don't even know if you'll be able to hear it unplugged, it sounds very good. It actually plays really nicely. It feels really comfortable. I used a 9-string gauge, which is the typical string gauge for a Fender guitar. By the time that I strung up the guitar, I plugged in an amp and it was ready to play. And I kind of did. God, give me strength. Please let this work. It turns out it was not a wiring issue. It is the kill switch. An open circuit is a mechanical issue for a kill switch. That's what it was built and designed to do. It's not really like you can reroute it and just magically fix that. So I did manage to get noise out of it, but the noise was so faint, the signal was so weak that all you could really hear was the buzzing of the guitar pickups, and if you turn the amp up any higher, it would just kind of squeal at you. So that was kind of useless. And I ordered another kill switch from Long & McQuade, and they told me it would take about a week and a half to arrive. That was 3.5 weeks ago. So this project has been put on hold. And as sad as I am that I am not really able to finish this guitar or play it to my heart's content, I am very happy with how this came out. A lot of trial and error went into this project. The original tuning pegs that I bought for this guitar were actually too small because this is a third-party brand from Amazon that I ordered the neck from, so I had to pay extra money to get different tuning pegs. The pickups were about $150, whereas all the rest of the hardware altogether was probably around $100 to even $200. So it is disappointing that this didn't work out the way I necessarily wanted because of how much money I dropped into it. But I'm very hopeful for when the right kill switch comes in that this is going to sound amazing. I have put, to say the least, my heart and soul into this project, and am very happy with how the Antiphone has worked out. Is it everything that I hoped it would be? No, not in the least. It's not working. I would love a working guitar. But the fact that I actually got this far and I didn't give up is something that I'm really pleased with. This was a huge test of my durability and mental strength, and even though it didn't turn out the way I exactly wanted to, I'm still very happy with it and very happy that I came this far in my project. So, I will be making another video when the kill switch comes in, and if it works, I will play this and we'll see how it sounds. Until then, thank you for watching, and please don't fail me in woodshop. I really need that grade. Have a great day, everybody. God bless. MJ out.